chemicals, cosmetics, healthcare, infrastructure, and information and communications technology. To start with the business forum, allow me to request His Excellency Ambassador Cwele to welcome us. Ambassador Cwele.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, Honorable Park Stao, the Minister for Trade and Industry and Competition of the Republic of South Africa, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellency Ambassador Wu Peng, the China's Ambassador to South Africa, Your Excellency Mr. Tan Jiong, the Governor of the China Development Bank, business leaders, friends from South Africa and China, distinguished guests, good afternoon. 大家下午好. It's a great honor to address you today at this historic South Africa-China Presidential Business Forum. At the onset, allow me to profusely thank our co-organizers to this event, the China Development Bank through the China Development Fund. We have really heeded our call of today for enhancing trade and investment between South Africa and China. Ladies and gentlemen, following the successful state visit this week, where our bilateral relations have been elevated to a comprehensive, from a comprehensive strategic partnership to an all-round strategic, cooperative partnership in the new era. This will have a significant positive impact on our bilateral economic relations for both our businesses and our communities. Our leaders, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa and His Excellency President Xi Jinping, have consistently guided us to spare no effort in increasing mutual beneficial trade and investment between and people-to-people exchanges between South Africa and China. This morning, we witnessed South African and Chinese companies signing cooperation agreements which will help us with the growth and development of our two friendly nations. We also witnessed the signing of cooperating assistance agreement between the Premier of Northwest Province, China Foundation for Peace, and the Women Empowerment and Development Society of Asia and Africa, which will help to build a state-of-the-art school in a poor village in the district which is earmarked for poverty alleviation cooperation between China and South Africa. China remains South Africa's largest trading partner since 2009, and South Africa is China's largest African trading partner since 2010. At a jobs fair in 2024 of Chinese invested enterprises in South Africa held on the 16th of April this year, the South African government welcomed that China has made over 25 billion US dollars investment in South Africa, creating over 400,000 jobs. South Africa also registers the most paid-in investment in China among African countries. The mission in Beijing supports African companies who have an increasing, stable, and successful investment in China. Key among these successful companies in China has been those who have made bold, early decisions in doing business in China and forging long-term partnerships with leading Chinese enterprises. For example, the Standard Bank, SABC relations, the Naspers and Tencent, Discovery Health, its Vitality program with Ping An Health, just to name a few. We are looking forward to this afternoon fruitful
big applause. But when I speak in English, no one appreciates. All right. 各位企业家非常
Business representatives, entrepreneurs, I'm very grateful for having this opportunity to attend this forum co-sponsored by Cat Fund. And this is South Africa Bank. And currently, investment overseas is confronted with the number one challenge, that is uncertainty, especially geopolitical uncertainty, which actually has brought many trouble to the Chinese enterprises going global. Why South Africa is such a good destination for Chinese investment? Because China and South Africa have been enjoying the best political and diplomatic relations. And President Ramaphosa is paying a state visit to China, and on September the 2nd, His Excellency President Ramaphosa reached an agreement with President Xi Jinping, enhancing the bilateral relations to a historical high of the new strategic partnership, which is a very good political guarantee for the relations between the two countries continuing to develop with high quality in the future, and also offering great guarantees for this certainty for your investment abroad. As entrepreneurs, you know this the best, that what is the decisive factor in your decision making for investment abroad. Of course, you can say that on the continent of Africa, South Africa enjoys rich mining resources, solid infrastructure, and developed financing system, and therefore South Africa has been a destination for investment from many other countries. Of course, these are all very important factors. However, personally, I think that just as we are doing business, we are thinking about cooperating with a certain company. Perhaps the factor that you value the most is the CEO or the chairman of the board of this company. If South Africa is compared to a company, and I think that the most important factor for Chinese businessmen to invest in South Africa is because they trust President Ramaphosa as the leader of this country, because he is not only insightful politician and statesman, but also he knows economy. In just 2 months, the administration that he led has won the trust from the market. And this is exactly why you decide to invest in South Africa. And I'm confident that under his leadership, he will offer us Chinese businessmen the best favorable environment for our investment. And me, as the Chinese ambassador to South Africa, I will also stay committed to serving the Chinese businesses doing business and investing in South Africa, which is also a responsibility with the Chinese government to offer service and support for Chinese enterprises going global. So jointly, we're willing to further promote the bilateral cooperation in economy and trade to a higher level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. President, this morning the forum began with an opening plenary that saw, as indicated earlier, the signing of a number of memoranda of understanding between companies in China and those in South Africa, both public and private, but also the provincial government of the Northwest with supporters from China to enable and facilitate education in South Africa and in the Northwest in particular. Furthermore, we had 3 panel discussions which focused on 1, mining and energy, 2, agriculture and manufacturing, and 3, services and infrastructure. In this regard, we all agreed to appoint a rapporteur that will share a summary of the discussions and the key outcomes of those discussions. Ms. Cindy Koyana Mabaso, or rather Ms. Cindy Mabaso Koyana, will do the reporting for both sides. May I at this stage invite Ms. Koyana to the podium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. President, good afternoon. Honorable Minister Parks-Tabo, our honorable ministers, business leaders, and government officials with us here today. Good afternoon, and it gives me an honor that I will summarize together with Ms. Vivi. We had the honor of being part of the moderators of the sessions this morning. The discussions were quite robust, Mr. President. The key highlights can be summarized as follows. I've been given 3 minutes. I'll try and do it within that 3 minutes. To deepen and strengthen our collaboration, we need to indeed remember that historically there was a time, and I think this was a point that really touched my heart, where China used to come to South Africa for field studies to learn from us some energy technologies, in particular the nuclear technologies. There was an articulation of a number of projects, including light-duty fuel vehicles, green energy, including the 14,000-kilometer transmission lines that need to be constructed, amongst other exciting projects. In the discussion on energy, obviously the importance of ESG, not just around the climate, but social responsibility and the importance of developing communities where these businesses operate. The importance of clear policies and regulatory frameworks, in particular around tariffs, tax incentives. There was a discussion around how much EVs, the electrical vehicles, come at a cost which has a premium of more than 20% above a normal ICE car for the consumer, and there was a conversation on the consideration of tax incentive for the consumer, especially right in the beginning before the market matures as we roll out EVs in the country. Labor laws and practices were amongst other elements counted on the policy environment. Innovation and technology exchanges, recognizing the accelerated technology developments that we have seen in China. So there was an importance of ensuring that these are shared. Also utilizing our tertiary institutions to underpin skills development. Business-to-business relationships need to continue outside of these state visits because that is quite critical in executing and implementing some of the agreements or commitments that get made in these sessions. A mention was made that previously there was a commitment of $300 billion on exports that would be that was mentioned by the President Xi Jinping around a commitment of trade between China and South Africa. And the articulation was that we are very far from that in terms of that commitment. And to accelerate and deepen these relationships, it is to look at these projects and make sure that they are accelerated outside of these sessions. There was also, we have touched on the issue of skills development, which is quite critical, and also to ensure that we invest in understanding each other's cultures for us to implement our commitments successfully and our relationship and collaboration. The importance of doing due diligences on our partners, I guess, to make sure that there are no incidents where we end up then coming back to government when we would not have done our own due diligences on our partners ourselves. The financial institutions here today also committed in supporting some of these projects, considering that these will require large funding commitments. So between Standard Bank, we had Standard Bank, we had the CAT Fund, and even ABSA China made such commitments. So I think, Mr. President, these are some of the highlights, and I'll allow Ms. Vivi, who also moderated one of the panels, to add to some of the summaries. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, dear Ambassador Mr. Wu Peng, Dr. Siyabonga, Honorable Ministers, Mr. Tan, Mr. Alex Zhu, all of the leaderships, and also colleagues. It is my great honor to stand here to share the results of the morning section's open conversation. Thank you, Ms. Sandy. You make my job the most easiest one in this event. You almost covered every aspect. I would like just adding 3 points. The first one is very interesting, how South Africa doing a successful business in China, how we improve the business export to China. And secondly, we all know that China is strong with our technology, with our development speed, and how we Chinese people improve our soft skills while we're doing business in South Africa, including attitude, mindset, culture that could make the two countries' people working better and better. Last point from our conversation. Mr. President, I would like to say some of the points from the open conversation was very challenging, makes people uncomfortable. However, I feel this is a value of the open panel conversation, make people think differently and be a better themselves. So as a business woman or a man, we want two governments to release more policies and supports to our business from the policy point of view to help us to improve our business in both countries. So I would like to say, I want to say thank you to China Africa Fund and also DTI. With their numerous efforts, sleepless nights, they built this bridge and platform for our business people to help each other to grow the business. And I was chosen by DTI and also CAT funds to be a rep, to speak here. Why? Because I am a witness. For the China and the South Africa's two government good relationships, and Hisense is a beneficiary in South Africa. We grew our manufacture capacity dramatically in the past 28 years. And also, we grew from a Mr. Nobody brand to a #1 television and refrigerator local manufacturer brand because of all of the love from the consumers of South Africa, because of the support from the two governments. We know nobody is perfect. We live and learn in many aspects. Two nations, we have many aspects we could help each other as long as we keep learning from each other. So that's all for my summary. Thank you very much for giving me this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our two powerful businesswomen that gave us the report of proceedings this morning. I should say, Mr. President, that Hisense not only manufactures in South Africa and has become a leading brand in television and refrigerators, but is now exporting in the back of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement into the continent, but also exporting to the UK from their South Africa base. So, President, I believe that the private sectors for both South Africa and China stands ready to support you after you spoke about the need for prioritizing industrialization, investment in manufacturing and technology sector, transformation, and building a capable state. It is at this point that I'd like to call onto the stage Mr. David Ferreira, the CEO of Discovery South Africa, of Discovery China rather, and the chair of the South Africa Business Association, quickly maturing into a fully fledged business chamber to address South African companies operating in China. Mr. Ferreira.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, Mr. Tan Jiong, Governor of the China Development Bank, fellow South African business partners, and distinguished guests, good afternoon. 大家下午好. It is an honor to address this gathering. We are here to celebrate and strengthen the ever-growing relationship between South Africa and China, which is a bond which is marked by collaboration, by mutual respect, and shared ambition. China's remarkable ascent to becoming one of the world's leading economies is a story not only of rapid growth, but also of immense opportunities for businesses globally, and certainly for South African companies. At Discovery, we firmly believe in the continued economic potential of China and the boundless opportunities that it presents going forward. The partnership between Discovery and Ping An Group, China's largest insurance business, illustrates how South African and Chinese companies can collaborate to drive innovation, to create value, and also to enhance cross-cultural ties. It began in 2010 with Discovery acquiring just under 25% of Ping An Health Insurance Company. And at the beginning, the vision was to combine a powerful Chinese brand, Ping An, which features exceptional technology capabilities and exceptional distribution capabilities, with deep health insurance expertise from South Africa, including our shared value business model. Discovery's core purpose is to make people healthier and to enhance and protect their lives. We do this through the shared value business model, which means basically that if I, as an insurer, can help you, my customer, to live a healthier life, then you, of course, will gain, but so will my business, because your claims will be lower. And that value that we create, I can share back with you in the form of rewards and in the form of lower premiums. And in the process, society also gains healthier citizens, of course. We realize this business model through our Vitality health and wellness management program. Now, I'm proud to say that Ping An Health Insurance is currently the most profitable specialist health insurer in China. But more importantly, it positively impacts the health and wellness of over 27 million customers through a shared value business model, making a significant contribution to China's Healthy China 2030 policy. The relationship now goes well beyond just health insurance in China, and it runs in both directions. To give you just one concrete example, we in Discovery use Ping An facial recognition technology in our Discovery Bank app, Discovery Bank app in South Africa. And I know that every South African company here today has got a similarly inspiring story in China. So this experience has driven us, South African business in China, in partnership with our embassy and our consulate in Shanghai, to form SACPA, the informal South Africa-China Business Association. We unite South African businesses in a very real way, I have to tell you, in China. We support each other, and we collaborate with our diplomatic missions, as well as incoming South African government delegations, to ensure that we stay aligned and that we responsibly fly the flag of South Africa Incorporated in China. Together, we've hosted numerous impactful events. These include a Discovery COVID-19 support webinar during the pandemic. They include things like a SASOL opening day at their facility in Nanjing, Anglo-American hosting a dinner at their offices in Shanghai, and so on and so forth. Done, done. We currently have 22 South African companies in China on board, and these include the 9 founding members, which are ABSA, Anglo, Aspen, Axis, Naspers, Old Mutual, Sasol, Standard Bank, and of course, Vitality China, part of Discovery. So while continuing those initiatives under the SACPA banner, we are also working now, Mr. President, with the embassy and with other key stakeholders to establish a formal South Africa-China Chamber of Commerce under Chinese law. This would be the first formal African Chamber of Commerce in China, the first formal Chamber of Commerce to come out of the continent of Africa. And it is an important next step in enhancing the profile of South Africa Incorporated in China. So I would therefore like to ask all South African businesses in China, please to sign up for this SACCC initiative. Mr. President, I know the ambassador will agree with me that this is an important initiative for our country and for our continent. And we count on the support of all here today to see the SACCC come to fruition. Mr. President, thank you for your wise and balanced leadership of our country. To our embassy and our consulate, you are aware of our genuine admiration and gratitude for your collaboration and support. To our business community, the South Africa business community in China, you do our country proud through your achievements in China and the exemplary way in which you conduct yourselves here. It is really a privilege for me to be your colleague. And of course, above all, however, to our Chinese friends, thank you so, so much for welcoming us with open arms to this incredible, magnificent country that I've called home for the last 4.5 years. Mr. President, as I close on a personal note, you and I have known each other for, believe it or not, 40 years now. 40 years. We looked a bit different back then. You've not only been my senior leader in various contexts, but you've also been my mentor at crucial stages. And I just want you to know that I've taken that generous mentorship to heart over the years and tried to be true to it, including when it comes to following you in all situations, to be balanced, to be fair, and to be just. And I thank you for that gift in my life. And for me to be here in this situation with you is, as you can imagine, an extraordinary privilege. So very briefly in conclusion, as we look to the future, I'm confident that the South African business community in China will continue to thrive and do well, and also that we will continue to be a positive force in both countries and for both countries. So thank you very much indeed for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferreira. Mr. President, we spoke about MOUs being signed earlier. As you would have met them earlier, the China Development Bank, through its subsidiary, the CAD Fund, which is the China Africa Development Fund, entered into an MOU with the IDC this morning. This MOU, amongst others, is to facilitate funding for Chinese investors coming into South Africa, but also funding for partnerships between Chinese and South African businesses. It gives me great pleasure at this stage to invite to the podium the governor of the China Development Bank, Mr. Tang Juan, to address us.
Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to attend the South Africa-China Presidential Business Forum. And it is just prior to the meeting of the FOCAC, President Xi Jinping have had a meeting with and cooperation between each other. The round of comprehensive guidance for the high-quality development of trade opportunities. The China Development Bank, as China's leading bank for foreign investment and financing cooperation, places great emphasis on and actively serves the economic and trade cooperation between China and South Africa. Over the years, under the guidance and care of the governments of both countries, we have actively supported a series of major projects of mutual interest. Taking this opportunity, I would like to report to Your Excellency, Ramaphosa President, and our distinguished guests the following achievements. At the end of August this year, we have accumulatively issued loans of $10.4 billion in South Africa, with a loan balance of $5.1 billion. And in South Africa, for each investment, currently we have 710 investment balance in South Africa, and the cooperation between the two countries have the following features. Firstly, we focus on key areas. We continuously increased support for projects in power, mining, telecommunications. And under the witnessed by President Xi Jinping and President Ramaphosa, we signed an agreement to support the Kusao Power Station project with accumulative loans of $2.4 billion. Secondly, with deepened industrial cooperation, we have cooperated with Standard Bank of South Africa on special loans for small and medium-sized enterprises, benefiting over 2,000 SMEs, boosting local employment and enhancing livelihood benefits. And thirdly, strengthening local currency financing. This year, for South Africa Electricity Company, we have issued a total of 2.066 billion RMB. It's the first time that South African enterprise use loans denominated in RMB, effectively reducing the cost of financing. Number three, we adhere to the investment lending model. CAD Fund under CDB has regarded South Africa as an important investment destination with cumulative investment exceeding $1 billion. This morning, the Samankor Solar Self-Contained Power Station project has been signed, which is a demonstration for China Development Bank's effort to implement the agreement reached between the two heads of state, just to offer more job opportunities and benefit tens of thousands of local residents. Not long ago, the third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China has been successfully held. Arrangements for further comprehensive deepening of reforms and advancing the Chinese modernization have been made, emphasizing the need to adhere to the basic national policy of opening up. China's door to Africa is opening wider, bringing more opportunities to African countries, including South Africa. Next, the China Development Bank will earnestly implement the outcomes of the talks between the two heads of state and the former China-Africa Cooperation Summit, using high-quality financial services to help elevate China-South Africa Economic and Trade Investment Cooperation to new heights. Next, we will strengthen our strategic alignment, supporting enterprises on both sides to deeply explore cooperation potential in areas such as economic and trade investment, infrastructure, new energy, and poverty reduction. And we will plan and design together and steadily advance the implementation of major projects that the two heads of state have agreed on. And secondly, we will further enrich financial supply, leveraging the RMB financing window, the Belt and Road Special Loan, the African SME Development Special Loan, the China-Africa Development-Oriented Financial Special Fund, and China-Africa Development Fund, actively supporting major landmark projects and small yet beautiful livelihood projects. Thirdly, we will further assist in infrastructure construction. The China Development Bank is China's largest infrastructure investment and financing bank. In this field, we've been staying committed with rich expertise and experience. We're willing to leverage our strengths. And considering the characteristics of South Africa's infrastructure projects and local customers' needs, to actively participate in and support the construction of South Africa's highways, railways, airports, ports, and other infrastructure, promoting the high-quality development of China-South Africa Infrastructure Cooperation. Your Excellency, President Ramaphosa, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, China and South Africa will strengthen our economic and trade investment cooperation, which will benefit the two peoples, and it will undoubtedly create an even brighter future for the two peoples. And CED is willing to work in concert with all parties, forge ahead together, and jointly open up an even better future for the global south. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor Tan. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor and privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker for this afternoon, recently re-elected as President of the Republic of South Africa, having led us through a process of driving an expansive and elaborate reform program, setting our country on course for a massive infrastructure build program, an industrialization and reindustrialization program, and indeed economic growth and prosperity. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, as I invite to the podium the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa.
Thank you. Minister Park Stow, the Program Director, Governor Tang Jiong, Governor of the China Development Bank, Chairman of the China-Africa Development Fund, Mr. Wang Shandong, Ambassador of China to South Africa, Mr. Wu Peng, and the Ambassador of South Africa to China, Mr. Siyabonga Cwele, ministers here present from both countries, business leaders, and my very good friend David Ferreira, friend of 40 years. Glad to see that you still have a good memory and you still look as handsome as you looked 40 years ago when I met you. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, it does indeed give me a great pleasure to be standing before you and being given the opportunity to make closing remarks. It's a great joy to see so many business leaders and business people from both South Africa and China meeting together for a number of hours and talking about investments and business in both countries. Your forum takes place on the margins of following a state visit that I conducted to China. This is my second state visit. President Xi Jinping has honored us with no less than 4 state visits in South Africa, visiting South Africa more than any other country on the African continent. In deepening our relationship, we were able to embark on an all-round strategic, comprehensive cooperation partnership in the new era. And this is an upgrade of the strategic partnership that we have had for a number of years. This is the foundation of our relationship, based on trust, based on mutual cooperation, and based on confidence in each other as leaders, but also in our two countries. We as South Africa are privileged to have such a relationship, a special relationship, I would call it, with a country like China, the second largest economy in the world. In consolidating this relationship, we were able to reach further agreements, and this time round we signed 8 agreements that build up on many other agreements that we have signed. And there were quite a number of other commitments that we made that signify the great importance of the relationship between China and South Africa. And I do believe that that forms a solid foundation that enables you as business people to be able to invest and know that you invest on the back of the good relations between the two countries. South Africa and China continue to cooperate and be great partners in a number of other international fora. BRICS is one forum where we cooperate closely, and President Xi Jinping, myself, and other leaders were able to oversee the welcoming of additional new members to BRICS last year. We also cooperate in the G20 and in our discussions He was very, very pleased and very supportive of South Africa's 2025 presidency of the G20. We also cooperate at the United Nations and indeed in many other international forums. So in many ways, you can say that South Africa and China are joined at the hip as we are able to cooperate in a meaningful way, in a very trustworthy manner. And this forum also takes place on the margins of the summit of the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation. The FOCAC summit commences tonight and tomorrow, and it brings together many African leaders who continue to deepen their own relationships with China. So China continues to play a key, mutually beneficial relationship with many other countries on our continent, and we are truly grateful for that. Your business forum, which you've just held, is an opportunity for engagement that will, in the end, improve trade and investment between the two countries, but using the good relationship between China and South Africa as a strong foundation. South Africa and China have vibrant, diverse, growing economies. The Chinese economy has been growing exponentially for many years, and our economy has been having anemic growth, but we aspire to grow, yes, at the pace and the level of the Chinese economy in time. But it is also based on a wealth of opportunities for businesses wishing to expand into new markets. China is currently South Africa's, as we all know, largest trading partner, and bilateral agreements between China and South Africa have increased by a third since 2019. South Africa exports mainly minerals and agricultural products to China and imports largely manufactured products from China. President Xi Jinping, in my meetings with him, has continuously expressed the wish that South Africa could export manufactured goods to the large Chinese market. It remains a wish that he has even tagged a number to. I had 300 billion being mentioned by my sister earlier. We are seeking to shift the structure of our trade profile and deepen our investment relationship. South Africa has one of the most advanced and diversified economies on the African continent. It has a vibrant business environment, as many of you will know, and a strong regulatory framework. It has a diverse, competitive, and well-regulated financial market. I was very pleased to hear the CEO of Hisense South Africa reporting very energetically here on stage and demonstrating that she has been a witness to many of the developments as she has seen how her company has expanded from a no-brand company to a respected brand. But she also reported that there were uncomfortable discussions. But as she reported here, she did not make me uncomfortable. Actually, I felt quite enthused, and I'd like to shake your hand when we finish here. South Africa has one of the most welcoming business environment. We are a country of enormous growth and development. We're advantageously placed for companies looking to expand into the rest of the African continent, as Hisense has demonstrated and shown. Many Chinese companies have invested in South Africa, and many others have shown a keen interest to invest. There have been distinct moves into sectors such as manufacturing, banking, textiles, mining, and agriculture. Among the more significant investments was the investment by the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, which took a sizable stake in Standard Bank in the early years. Chinese electronics manufacturer Hisense entered the South African market in a much earlier period as well, and now it is using the base that it has built in South Africa with the commitment of investments that it has made to export into the rest of the continent. And other Chinese flagship companies such as ZTE and Huawei Technologies are also expanding their presence in South Africa, but using South Africa as a springboard, as a gateway into the rest of the continent. Since the start of our investment drive in 2018, Chinese companies have made investment pledges to the value of well over 18 billion South African rands in manufacturing, in resources, in finance, agro-processing. This is the equivalent of $1 billion. We express our appreciation to these commitments and for China's continued support for our investment drive. And it is at this point that I'd like to invite more Chinese companies to attend our investment conference, where they can come and talk about their desires and their wishes to invest in the South African market and interact and engage with other South African businesses that are continuing to invest in our economy. In the last 6 weeks, a number of Chinese companies have increased investments to support their own expansion in the investments that they have made in South Africa. These investment commitments are testament to the resilience of the South African economy and the many opportunities for foreign and domestic investors. And it is up to us to seize these opportunities and to take the economic relationship between our two countries to the next level. I say so with a great deal of confidence because South Africa, too, has entered a new era, an era of enhancing clear conditions, better conditions for investments in our country. We've embarked on a clear path of reforms, as Minister Tau was saying, with the new government that has been formed, a government of national unity, which is an inclusive government where a number of parties are working together for the interests of developing our country. We do believe that it is a new era, just as the strategic partnership that we've entered into with China in the new era is a novel development. So South Africa, in many ways, becomes more attractive in the sense that the reforms that we've embarked upon are going to speed up. They are going to be much deeper and much more meaningful and create a much clearer, conducive climate and environment for businesses to invest. And I would even say to my sister from Hisense that even those uncomfortable discussions will soon become very comfortable. And therefore, we invite everyone to come. Now, as we embark on our reform process, we too will be opening up our economy. We will be looking at new sectors of our economy. For instance, we'll also look at things like electric vehicle sector, renewable energy, green hydrogen, and energy storage. Yesterday, I had the occasion to visit Shenzhen, and we were dazzled by the enormous changes that have taken place in Shenzhen over a period of time, 40 years or so. But we were particularly deeply impressed by going to a car manufacturing company, electric vehicle manufacturing company, and we informed them that as part of our reforms, we are now going to focus on a sector like electric vehicles, and that whetted their appetite. It is further, our country has further opportunities in infrastructure. As Minister Tau was saying, our reforms are deep, and they are going to be overarching. We are going to be looking at how we spread our infrastructure layout, and yes, in manufacturing as well, how we address some of the constraints and the red tape that many investors come across, including things such as making our visa regime a lot better. And I think that's one of the things that makes business people in Chinese uncomfortable. And we're going to be able to address that so that when you come to South Africa, you come in a place that is much more welcoming rather than the restrictions that we have had. So we are on a journey. And I was also pleased to hear from President Xi Jinping that China has also embarked on its own journey of reforms. So as two countries that are joined at the hip, as I said, we've embarked on journeys. Different journeys there might be, but journeys of reforms, of repositioning the directions of our economies, and in our case, to seek to engender more quality growth going forward, a growth that will be able to address the challenges we face. We face enormous challenges of unemployment in South Africa, with almost 12 million people unemployed. We also face a challenge of inequality, an inequality that stems from our past, where the past rulers of our country designed a system and an economic system that relegated the majority of the people of our country to a status of inequality. But we also face the challenge of poverty, how we should address poverty. And we are deeply impressed with the manner in which China has been able to lift so many people out of poverty and has built an economy that has continued to grow. Many lessons for us on a number of fronts. And we have seen how China's transformation as a major economic powerhouse has many lessons for us and which we can learn from. We seek to achieve a similar transformation in our economy. Chinese companies will find there are innumerable business opportunities to manufacture products in South Africa using our excellent industrial experience and capabilities and infrastructure. We plan to move from being a large importer of manufactured products to being a major exporter. And in this regard, President Xi Jinping's wishes and my wishes are aligned, because that is the direction that we both want to see South Africa moving. We have seen this happen in our automotive sector. We have ambitious plans to modernize our infrastructure by investing in the expansion of our ports, in our rail, and in our roads network. And that is part of our reform process. We are on a path to revolutionize our energy sector in pursuit of a low-carbon, climate-resilient economy. We are actively seeking investment in the energy sector with a particular focus on renewable and green hydrogen. In Shenzhen yesterday, we met a number of power energy companies that have invested in South Africa and are also keen to further their investments there. Now, China has a proven record in developing innovative renewable energy solutions, which we heard a lot about yesterday. Together, we can create sustainable and environmentally friendly energy solutions that can benefit both our countries. And by working together, we can create durable and sustainable value chains that are mutually beneficial, leading to job creation and economic growth. There are also vast untapped potential in technology. South Africa and China can collaborate to promote innovation, technology transfer, and skills development. This is an area which we witness once again where China has had exponential progress. By leveraging our respective strengths and exploring new avenues of collaboration, we can create mutually beneficial partnerships between the two countries. Our focus must now be on building stronger business relationships, promoting cultural exchanges and tourism, and creating a favorable business environment. The value of such cooperation extends beyond our two countries. And as part of our reforms, we will also be addressing one of the issues that has been raised, which I'm sure did come up here in your business forum discussions, the issue of safety and crime in South Africa. We are taking dramatic steps to address this challenge because in the past it has been raised as a constraint for Chinese businesses to invest in South Africa, much as a number have already invested. Part of our reforms have to do with precisely that, to address criminality and to ensure that when Chinese businesses invest in South Africa and bring their people to South Africa, they are safe and confident that they will conduct their businesses in a successful manner. Now, African economic integration is becoming a fast reality. The value of cooperation goes right across our continent. The growth of the South African economy will be pivoted also on the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which opens up access to a market of over 1.3 billion people. Now, this in many ways creates enormous opportunities to expand production on the continent and to stimulate much greater economic growth. We're rather pleased that a number of Chinese companies that are steeped in the manufacturing sector are already taking advantage of this and utilizing the platform that is being created by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and using South Africa as a very strong base to export, to manufacture and export their businesses out of South Africa. In conclusion, let me thank you for your participation in this business forum. I can see not only with the number of people who are gathered here, but also with the issues that were covered as reported, that indeed there's a great deal of interest on both sides. And we are one unique country where investment flow is not one way. There are a number of South African companies, as I had David Ferreira reporting here, that are invested from South Africa in the Chinese market. So there is mutual interest in our two countries and two business people to invest in each other's country. And the trade is two ways as well, although we still need to balance that. So we are joined at the hip, and that is why I say South Africa and China, having concluded this all-round, comprehensive, strategic, cooperative partnership between President Xi and myself, it lays this great foundation that we can all utilize to speed up the processes of investments, of business dealing, of trade between our two countries. So all this calls on us to work together to seize this opportunity as business people and continue to build a more prosperous future for our respective peoples in China and in South Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Allow me to report at this stage to you, Mr. President, in line with your and President Xi's direction that we improve the quality of trade between South Africa and China, and in particular ensure that South Africa is able to also send manufactured goods to China. We have submitted a list of products that are designated for the Chinese market, tailor-made for the Chinese market, in line with the agreement, and will be following up. It is an initial list of an agreed 100 with the intention that we would expand the goods and services that would send into the Chinese market. So we're looking forward to both South African companies and their local distributors taking advantage of these opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, can we give a round of applause to President Ramaphosa. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program. If I may request that as the President and ministers take leave, if we could remain in our seats and allow our dignitaries to take leave. Mr. President.